to most of the songs that I know, from Fair Warning, and For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, and Diver Down, and Women and Children First, and OU812, and Fitty 150, and all. It's unbelievable. Every one of them was an ass-kicking album from Van Halen. But the number 2 song is going to be a Van Halen, because I really believe in the number 1 song, because the number 1 song embodies all of rock and all that it is, and all of the 80s. It's a perfect 80s rock song. We'll get to that. So number 4 now is another guy like Eddie Van Halen that I love, and when I think of my favorite rock voices, he's it. And it's Paul Rodgers. Robert Plant, without question, is the greatest rock voice of all time, no doubt about it. We all know that. But my favorite, I think is Paul Rodgers. Because everything he touches is money. Just like Eddie Van Halen. I don't care who his singer is, it's money. Whoever's singing behind Eddie Van Halen. But so he latched on with 4 bands, and I didn't like the whole Queen thing at all, be honest with you. And he had this band called The Law, which I liked in the early 90s. He had this song, Miss You in a Heartbeat or something like that, in a minute. Something like that. I forget what it was called, but it was great. And he did this and that, and he joined up with Jimmy Page, and he played in The Firm. And so that's going to be my number 4 song, and it's from Paul Rodgers and his band The Firm, because I loved it. Loved it, because anything Paul Rodgers does is a rock song, And it's not going to be Radioactive. It's the other one, and it probably wasn't even a top 70 hit, but it's one of my favorite rock songs of the 80s. It's my number 4 rock song of the 80s from The Firm. All the King's Horses. And it's short. I don't care what anyone says. That's my number 4 song of the 80s, The Firm, All the King's Horses. I like it better than Radioactive. All right, let's get down to number 3 here. And it's a Big Hair song, because you got to have a Big Hair song in a greatest rock hits of the 80s list. And when you think of Big Hair, what do you think of? Who do you think of? Mark Arson, The Big Hair Show. I mean, he's the Big Hair guy. He's it. WRDU alum. And he worked at WKNC, which is one of the greatest rock stations in the world. WKNC at NC State. Wow. They are. And they play everything, but I love their rock mix. I always have. Talking about legendary, WKNC at NC State. But anyway, so it's a Big Hair song. So what's the greatest Big Hair song? I laugh when I think about it, because there's no doubt about it. It's the greatest Big Hair song, and it's from Poison. Because every rose has its thorn. And you spell that, Thone, thorn. Every cowboy has a sad, sad song. Every night has its dome, or something like that. So it's Poison. Every rose has its thorn. Sure, it embodies all the Big Hair stuff. It's without question a great rock song, and you're lighter and all that kind of stuff. All right, so number 2 is going to be the Van Halen song, and I don't know which one it is, but don't get pissed, man, because the Van Halen song that I play, which is going to be number 2, is going to count for all the great Van Halen songs, and they didn't do a bad one. Without question, the greatest rock band of the 80s is Van Halen. And the number 1 song, it embodies the whole deal, and I'm proud of it, and you're going to laugh. But it is the greatest rock song of the 80s, and that's coming up next time.